Alright, so this video is not me trying to trash this game for fun, because I'm fully aware that it's developed by 3 people, and the individuals that are recommending this game trying to make that clear that like, guys, it's made by 3 people, I'm sorry to say that does not absolve the creators from any criticism, no matter how light or harsh it is. There are dozens of games in this industry that were developed by small teams, some games developed by a single person, or some games developed by a similar 3 to 4 man team. And of course the games I'm showing on screen are functionally different than Bleak Faith, but the point I'm trying to make is that it doesn't matter how many people are working on a game. Think of all the AAA titles that are worked on by hundreds of people that end up being very painfully generic or just commercially bomb. But then look at the games that are made by maybe just a single individual that are actually gaining success and a cult following. The amount of people working on a game does not equate to good or bad quality. The thing I pay attention to is the game itself, my enjoyment from it, as well as the price point. This game is being priced at $25 or actually $35 if you're in Canada, and that's with a sale. The actual price is close to $40 Canadian or maybe up to $30 US. If it wants to price itself as a game in that tier, fine, I will review it like a game in that tier. And simply put, I can't recommend to even try this game. Unless you're someone that's into really niche titles, like you live in the bowels of fucking Itch.io and play the most obscure and strange games imaginable. But even then, I still have trouble recommending it because of the price point. Also, before going into more detail, I'd like to say that this is not a full review of the game. I haven't finished it, so consider this more of an impressions video, although I still played 8 hours and I just don't have the motivation to continue any further, which I think says a lot in itself. So let's get into the meat of this game, starting off with the controls and feel. First off, do not play this game with a controller, it will make you powerbomb your PC. Just play with a mouse and keyboard. I know that might sound blasphemous for a Souls-like, but I'm telling you now, it is functionally better and feels better. But I say that loosely because the feel of this game is a bit all over the place. Playing at a higher frame rate will cause the game's physics to have a bit of a stroke and make you feel like you're kind of sliding around the map or running at super speed. Capping the game at 60 FPS seems to fix this, but it shouldn't have been a problem in the first place and it's just a sign for things to come. When it comes to combat, this is probably the aspect where people will play for a half hour and then just drop this game in a fucking instant. Believe it or not though, I caught onto the combat rather quickly, so I was aware of things like no invincibility frames while dodging. And I like the idea of that where you actually have to pay attention to your positioning and whatnot, but the problem is that the hitboxes in this game are really fucking wonky. It will make you believe you have invincibility frames. Like, nobody can look at my footage here and tell me that this is alright. This creates a disconnect for the player because they don't know what is safe or unsafe. It's an inconsistency, and the thing is that inconsistency stretches to other parts of the combat. For example, I don't know when enemies are in a stagger state, when they're casting an attack, I don't know if there's like an in-between animation. I have no clue what's going on sometimes. One moment I'm fucking an enemy up the ass, the other moment I'm getting fucked up by it because I can't tell what's going on. The main thing I like about the combat is the combo system because you actually have to time your button presses so you can do attacks more quickly as well as conserve stamina. I like this idea, but it's not enough to make the combat engaging. Explorative combat just feels very mind-numbing. The enemy AI can either be brain dead, fucking annoying, tiring to fight, or actually difficult, but primarily because they can two-shot you. I was never excited to fight in this game. And believe it or not, most of my deaths didn't actually come from combat. I didn't even die to the first boss at all. Most of my deaths were due to gravity. I flew off a fucking cliff, the game's world didn't load in, so I fell into purgatory. I dropped down on a ledge, which killed me, but then dropping down to the ledge next to it was okay. I got stuck on level geometry near an environmental hazard, and it killed me. Stuff like this was the main source of death for me, and honestly, it didn't frustrate me. I was unfazed, and the reason for that is because I expected stuff like this to happen. It took 2 minutes of me moving in this game to realize that stuff like this was probably going to be really common. Now, with all this being said, does this game have any saving graces? I mean, some people say that they like the level design. Well, sorry to say, I think the level design in this game is a detriment to itself. People compare it to Dark Souls 1, which I think is very generous, and yes, I know that there's different pathways to the same sort of area. There's like this sense of interconnectivity, but that's the thing, I think it works against this game. It feels like there's too many paths to an area. For example, you're going through a new location thinking that you're making progress, but then you realize you just looped back around to an area you've already explored. Great, I just wasted my fucking time. Whenever I found a different way to an area, I was never excited, thinking to myself like, oh, what an interesting connection. Instead, I was just sitting there annoyed. The levels are also plagued with long stretches of land, corridors and pathways with no sense of readability or signposting, stairwells and buildings that lead to nothing, or ladders that you can't even slide down. Exploring this world is painful. There's some interesting things to see, but just not enough to save it. And here's the thing, I can go on and on about way more in this game. I can talk about the UI, I can talk about the random choppiness, the stutters when you load into a new part of the world, some random frame drops. There's a lot that I can talk about, but I don't think I need to make this video longer. I think I've said enough. Simply put, this game is a very early access title being sold as a finished product. And that's the thing, I would have no issue with it if it was sold at a much cheaper price as an actual early access game with a sort of roadmap. But even then, I played actual early access games with more entertainment value and playability. So the thing is that this game has a lot to contend with out there. Now, with all this being said, I don't want the developers to give up on their passion and their dream, because the ideas they have for this game and their vision is interesting. I like the game's blend of dark fantasy, sci-fi, bio-horror, and post-apocalyptic vistas, and the idea of this vertical sort of omni structure, along with some of the RPG elements. But here's the thing, you need more than good ideas or a vision to make a good game. You still need technical prowess and being able to nail the basics. So with that in mind, this game and the developers have a long road ahead of them. I hope they can turn it around, but it will not be easy. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, dislike, or comment your thoughts down below. Peace.